Okay, so today we're going to be talking about one of the biggest pitfalls I see from players. Honestly, like all the way like up until like plat, like I think it's an issue that a lot of people don't realize they have. And if you do have this issue, it is costing you wins. It is costing you easy kills, easy fights. It is costing you RP. So definitely want to make sure you are not doing this, which is spending too much time looting. People place way too much value on loot and the impact that it has on their ability to be effective during fights. And they under-prioritize the other things that you give up in exchange. Or some people just actually aren't even aware that they're making sacrifices in exchange. So, when you are... That was pointless. When you're looking at a piece of loot, you need to think about like what you had to pay in order to get that piece of loot. I think a lot of people don't realize that just because the loot's sitting on the ground doesn't mean it's free, right? Like you have to give up something, which in this case is time. You have to sacrifice time in order to be able to pick up the loot, right? And so every single second that you spend looting is a second that you spend that's not spent on building some other kind of advantage. That's not spent on rotating towards the ring. That's not spent on investigating where the other squads are, or trying to find like a superior high ground position that's super busted that like, you know, nobody could ever possibly beat you from, or you know, like whatever, right? Like, or finding like a third party opportunity that's like going to be much easier to take than like a head on fight. Like these are all things that like you're giving up because you're looting, which is like actually kind of what I'm doing now, but it's mostly just that I have more time to talk. So yeah, this should not be considered an example of like what you should be doing while you're looting. But you know, like too many people, you know, like just try and pick an area entirely clean. Like they try and hit every single loot node in an area, and like they won't leave until they've got like the perfect loadout. But the simple reality is, as long as you have 2 guns and any color armor, like for an early game, for your very first fight, that should be enough. As long, and also probably like two blocks of whatever kind of ammo type is the particular gun, so that you actually are able to shoot the gun somewhat. But as long as you have like those things, then you should be pretty much set. And the ammo you can pick up as like you move along. And like as soon as you have those things, like you should stop looting the area you're in, and you should start moving towards where you believe enemies are, or towards the next major map objective. And then you should just be trying to path so that you can pick stuff up along the way, instead of like doubling back and like, you know, going to pick up like, you know, that blue extended mag, because you know those 3 or 4 extra shots is going to be so much more of a big deal than, you know, like plugging 5 free shots into a target that's not even moving, right? So I mean, like to like, I guess, drive home the point, like, you know, like let's use an example. People like examples, right? So like, let's say, you know, like that you're gonna have to fight someone, right? Would you rather fight someone who's like walking back and forth and you know, just strafing, and you're like and you like come around the corner, like maybe over here, right?
Let's go this way.
Or maybe how about back here? And they're strafing back and forth, right? Would you rather deal with someone who's like strafing back and forth and you know, and they're sitting still and they're managing their inventory, and then they're like, oh, like, you know, like what's this thing that I'm gonna drop or whatever, and you walk up and you just shoot them like 5 or 6 times just for free in the back? Or would you rather have that person being standing here looking at you like this, right, knowing that you're coming at them, trying to use the cover against you, right? Like which of those 2 situations would you rather be in, right? Now let's actually put loot into the mix, right? So it's like, what if like in this situation, right, like where you're dealing with a person who's not paying attention to you, or even better yet, like they're a controller place, they can't move at all, right? Would you rather have, like, you know, so let's say you had an RE45, right? Would you rather deal with that situation, or would you rather have an R99 with a purple mag, like, and be standing over there, right? And then have me being over here, strafing back and forth, actually shooting back at you, right? Contesting every single shot you're trying to put into me. Do you think you're going to do more damage in the second situation or the first situation? And I think for most players, with like, you know, like just a reasonable like degree of like reliable aim, like the first scenario, right, having an RE45 and like those free shots like should be like where you inflict more damage. And you have to think about like what comes after, right? Because if you just log a bunch of damage into someone, what, like, how do they respond, right? Like if you hit someone 5 or 6 shots of anything, right, what do? They try to get back into cover, or they turn and they try and fight you just before you break that armor, and then they get aim punched and they can't hit you anyways. So it's like, in neither of those situations is there really any danger of you getting shot back at, right? So not only are you going to be able to do more damage, but then like, you know, the probability that you get shot back is lower. So like, you know, like I can't stress enough like how, like what a big deal like initiative is in a fight, and how looting basically means that you're giving up initiative on the map. Like that is the cost, and it is a huge cost. It's like the difference between like a free fight and like one that you like might actually lose. So it's like when you're looting, you know, like you should be trying to move through as much of the map as you can, like horizontally, right? You should be trying to hit as many nodes as you possibly can, because like it's like you know, because like the looting tables like are reliant on RNG, and so the more times you can roll the dice, the better. And so by moving through the map horizontally, you're going to be able to hit more nodes, because you'll be able to see like more locations around, like just visually, right? And you'll be able to see, it's like, because purple armor sticks out, a battery sticks out, you know, like just purple gear in general, like is very noticeable. And so it's like, as you're like moving through like the map, right, and being active on the map, you're actually giving yourself more chances to like pick things out visually, right? Or like, oh, that's something that I want, and then to like go and get it. So it's like, you know, like for example, right, like if I was like trying to path over here, right, then like I would like, you know, run through like that stuff that's up there on the high ground and like pick some of that stuff up, right? But I like wouldn't like spend forever and ever like to make like my pathing inefficient. Like I would just like spend enough time so that like, you know, I get a look at like a few of like the loot nodes without having to like divert my path very much, right? Like in general, like you should never double back. Like you should always be like moving like in the general direction of like the objective, right? So it's like if I'm trying to path up here, right, like there's no reason why I should turn around and go back for stuff over there. Like I should constantly be moving like out this way, right? Like some component of my movement should be in that forward direction. So like in addition, so like, you know, like we established that like you should be like moving horizontally quickly across the map, right? Like covering lots of space as you're looting. But like, you know, as you're covering that space horizontally, you know, you should be also like, like hitting like the easy nodes of loot. So like you should be trying to path efficiently through areas. And so if we were trying to pass through gardens right now, right, and like trying to go for speed, then like my suggestion would be to try and like just mainly focus on the loot that's like on the ground, right? Because like the loot that's like on the ground floor, or like just like on the ground like down in here and stuff, like those are going to take less time, require less of a time investment for you to pick up, right? Like you can just like run through, you can like hit these bins and you can like move on. Like I don't have to like climb any stairs or like spend any like time like, you know, going to like a weird position in order to pick it up. It's like I can just pick it up, right?
Some good news.
And so like, you know, like what happens, right, is like when you partially loot an area like this, right, it means that like when another squad comes through, that like this time they have to spend to be able to get the same amount of benefit out of like being in the area as you, like, you know, it is reduced. Like, so it's like you were able to pass through really quickly, you know, maintain your mobility and like continue to be active out on the map and like move quickly. And now they, in order to be able to like, you know, just like have like, you know, some, you know, comparable amount of benefit, like are going to have to like climb up like every single building they have to go to, right? Like it's just going to take twice as long because they have to climb up to the next floor. And it's like, you know, just like an additional like waste of time for them. And so by, you know, like basically like just, you know, limiting yourself to like whatever like loot nodes like you can hit efficiently, it means like you're depleting whatever like efficient paths like are available otherwise. So that's like, I guess like the other, like, so it's like you should path like efficiently and like try and hit as many nodes as you can as you're passing by, but like you shouldn't be like doubling back, right? Like so you should try and move as quickly as you can through an area while hitting as many nodes as you can without having like make like huge diversions in terms of like your pathing. And then you know, like the whole thing is like, you know, you can just like let early squads gather the loot, right? So people pick up good loot, so let them pick it up for you, let them make time investment, and then you can spend time being proactive, being mobile around the map, looking for, you know, great third-party situations and opportunities, trying to find, you know, super broken positions that people can't deal with, or watching your teammate completely drive away with the car without you because he's a jerk.
You're trying to loot up, what the heck? I'm making you loot up for me, so when you die, I can take your loot.
Oh my God.
It's exactly what you're saying.
You're just not helpful.
I don't know what your problem is.
But yeah, so it's like at the beginning of the game, especially, right? Like, you know, just be very careful with how you spend your time. There is like some minimum like threshold of like loot that you need. Obviously, you need to have like guns where you're like, okay, I can like realistically, you know, like kill someone with this, right? But it's like, when it comes to, it's like, do I pick up this mag or not, right? Like, or do I go back for that mag, right? It's like, is a mag really going to be the differentiating factor between whether you kill someone or not? Early game, probably not. Like the bigger deal is like going to be, it's like, did you just sneak up on them, right? And so, or like, did you arrive in time to, you know, be catching them at the end of their third party instead of like letting them heal? Like, those are the things that are going to be way more high impact in terms of like, you know, affecting the outcome of early fights. So definitely, you know, like, let other squads make that payment of time for picking up loot, because all loot that gets picked up costs time. So like, let other squads pay that out of their resource pool, and then use your resource pool to actually do something that's useful and good for you. So, yep, that's it. So stop picking places clean, move around the map, be mobile, be active. You know, there's like a difference between W key being stupid aggressive and being like very focused, right? And like, this is like the focused aggression that I often talk about. It's like necessary, I believe, in order to be successful in ranked, and I think just successful at higher levels of play. So yeah.